Davidson, Director of Design and Fabrication at the Charles H. Wright Museum for African American History. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're getting ready to make 40 years at
That's right.
being at the Charles H. Wright Museum for African American History. Okay, 40 years. Talk about your experience being there. I mean, I think 40 years you've seen it in at least two of the locations, the former locations, and now the current location. Talk about this journey of 40 years, getting to 40 at the Wright.
Well, I was just a kid when I started, just a young college student. I did a year at Alabama State, and it just happened to be Dr. Wright's alma mater.
Yeah. Who delivered half of Detroit, right?
Yeah, right. Thousands of babies, something like 17,000. Yeah, babies. But I started over on the boulevard in the little 3-row house that was the museum back.
That's the first location, right?
That's the first location.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I started there officially in 1983. And my first job was to design an exhibit on Black voting rights.
Wow.
And Dr. Wright loved that exhibit. I was a contractor, started as a contractor, then moved on to an exhibit on Charles Drew. He loved that. And then finally he just said, hey, you may as well hang around. So I was hired, and wasn't there long before this partnership between the museum and the city of Detroit came about. And Coleman Young worked with Dr. Wright to increase the vision and provide the resources to expand the museum and bring this larger vision to fruition. That was one of Dr. Wright's favorite words, fruition.
Well, it's so interesting and funny to hear you tell of this history, because some of it was happening in my lifetime. So I remember being a younger Orlando, going into the present edifice and all of the grandeur when it opened. Yeah.
So I remember architects drawing up the plans for the second museum. That's a block from here, just a block north of where we are right now. That's occupied by, it was bought and is occupied by CCS.
Yes.
Now, and even then construction began and it finished, we moved in there. And I think even before the building was finished, they were starting on drawings for the new facility. So Dr. Wright and Coleman Young were moving fast.
You had a personal relationship with Dr. Wright. Tell me about that relationship, that mentee-mentor relationship, and how you carry that with you today.
It started, from day one when I was hired. And, Dr. Wright, in addition to, wanting to put together exhibits over on the boulevard, also conducted educational programming that took place at Wayne State. And so, he'd have me designing little cards that contained information on these different workshops and presentations he was giving at Wayne State. So we worked very closely together. He would provide people to work with me on the exhibitions, to write scripts and collect images and objects and that sort of thing. And so we kind of had, shared vision. He knew what he wanted in terms of what that exhibit was going to be, but not necessarily, the best way to pull it off and make it look great. And so, we kept our heads together on that, and so we kind of laid a foundation, you know. And there's been occasion where he's come to me and asked for artwork. So I've created illustrations for promotional posters related to programming that he organized. And even after we moved to the second facility, he was still engaged in quite a bit of educational programming.
Black History Month is literally a page turn away, and I'm sure that the Wright is going to see an influx of visitors. And King Tut exhibit is back. What can people expect?
Well, it's an exhibition that includes replicas of the various items, chairs, sculptures, chariot, things that were found in King Tutankhamun's burial chamber, as well as, and that would be regarded as the private stuff. And then you have the more public King Tut items that are in the first 4 sections in our larger gallery. So it's between 2 galleries, the AT&T, which is our largest gallery, and then the Chase Gallery, which is a little smaller, probably about a third, half the size. And so in the public area, you also have sculptures of, Akhenaten, of Nefertiti, and objects that would have been sculpted for them. So that's the full scope.
Kevin, tell me, as the director of design and fabrication at the Wright, what your role is in bringing an exhibit like the King Tut exhibit to life at the museum.
Well, here at the museum, my department is a department of 2. It's myself and another designer. Her name is Shivani Gajer. And, we collaborate on a lot of this design. She's a very technical person, knows how to, she's a wizard with all the software, and she can work on these interactives and bring those to life. And so, that's an important component of what's been added to this exhibit. But my role is to lead the design of these permanent and changing exhibitions here. And so for the King Tut exhibit, we essentially took a collection of stuff, and it's our job to create an exhibit out of that. And so we start with, generally a list of what the items are and photographs of them and dimensions, and put together a floor plan. Then we move to elevations of the spaces, and then the color scheme and the lighting, and design the overall environment for it. So a lot goes into it to make it exciting.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. And I think this exhibit is particularly exciting because, it seems so recent, right? The 1920s was not long ago where archaeology actually discovered and found a lot of these artifacts for King Tut. And so people are still very interested.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're celebrating the 100th year of the discovery of these things. So it's a milestone and an opportunity, for us to bring it back, and for, our community to enjoy it and experience it.
Happy Black History Month to you and all the folks at the Wright. Kevin Davidson, Director of Fabrication and Design at the Charles H. Wright Museum. Thank you so much for joining us on American Black Journal.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.